Hey there, everybody. Woo! Happy Sunday, and I mean that, right? We can get on here and say that today, and really, as they say it with your chest. Happy Sunday. What a day yesterday. 7 million and counting. We're hearing like peaceful, just everything, all the things. America the beautiful, my country, tis a thee kind of vibe, like all of it. Just phenomenal day. I want to go to spirit, you all. We know after that, now we're all in that. So now what phase? Because this the No Kings protest can't just be a one-off or a part two off, following up from the march in the protest in June. uh but here's the thing, there are some challenges that are coming up, but I think these organizers, over 250 organizers, we know, Indivisible being primary among them, that helped the No Kings protest. But here's what I got, you all. Many people have been, have emailed a lot of people like, are we headed for civil war? And the guide said to me, basically, this is kind of sort of it. Not war in that sense. I'm hesitant to say that for sure, or put that energy out there, but in the sense of a mounting and an unstoppable force to resist what is being done in this country to dismantle democracy and turn it into an authoritarian dictatorship for entertainment purposes only, right? Got to do that. All right. So here's what I'm getting, you all. And I just have to also give props to, not only did we see people turn out in massive numbers in places we would expect, Chicago for sure, New York, right? Boston, just so many, Atlanta, so many cities, LA. Who got on with the unicorn inflatables took off in LA. They said, okay, Portland got our frogs going, and now LA was doing a lot of the theme was the unicorns, but we had chickens and penguins. I mean, the inflatables were like the fantastic Marvel, just ready to fight civil. I don't want to say war, but resistance, right? Unbelievable. Here's where I want to go to spirit. And real quick, when I say go to spirit, somebody asked a very valid question on my last video, which was, well, who are you talking to, FFA, when you say spirit? That's valid. I respect it. When I tell you all, when I go to spirit, I am going to the most high, divine, creative source of the universe. Creator, creatress, right? The most high, love, light, powerful source. So however you worship, whether it's God, Jehovah, Allah, the goddess, however you connect, because I believe that, many paths, one source, right? So that's who I'm going to, along with our collective ancestors, those of the highest light who have transcended the angelic realm. Like, my vibe is I go to and open up to what is of love and light and power. All right. All right. So, but that was a valid question. Okay. The heads of the leaders, especially of Indivisible, have said, as some of the major organizations involved in the No Kings protest have said, they recognize this. This has to. How do we take this and build the momentum and mobilize and make it effective going into the 2026 midterms? Right, all of the high stakes, and with all of the efforts made to redistricting, etc. We've talked about that, and we will some more. I'm getting, and I'll get confirmation. There's going to be a cross section. We've talked about, Spirit has said there's going to be these coalitions forming that are not going to be typical Democratic or independent or even Republican processes of how elections are run. There will necessarily be a more grassroots component to that. And I think that's where we're headed. But let me ask, Spirit, in the wake of the No Kings protests, are these organizations, these nonprofits such as Indivisible, Democracy Now, Democracy Forward, so many, you know them, are they going to become sought after or sought out by the DNC and other people who are running campaigns? Are they going to be more active as a grassroots component to the 2026 elections? I have the King of Swords that comes at the bottom of the deck. I am reading, I know I have a lot of readers who watch the channel, the Bright Future Tarot. So we've got this King of Swords. That might be, I know the head of, there are two founders of Indivisible, if I'm not mistaken, Ezra, someone, and a woman. But yes, that looks like there's already someone who is positioning themselves, and the Two of Swords, which is basically a decision, no announcements made yet. Think about it that way with that tape over the mouth. But also some conflicts there in terms of power and who it is that is sought out and can really articulate what is happening with the 2026 elections, both in different cities, different people who are campaigning. That has to be worked out. In other words, plain language, Spirit is saying, break it down, Fefe, that you will have the DNC that says, well, this is what we do. We are the talking heads. We are the platform makers. We are those that generate the funding for campaigns to be able to get out on the trail. And these grassroots organizations then are going to have to figure out, how do we incorporate that without diluting our position and make it look like we've lost the handle, you know? Ken Martin et al. at the DNC. How do we do that and not look like we've lost the handle or we've abdicated? We have the Page of Swords. So very, I think Spirit is confirming that. Page meaning new way of going at it, recognizing the success that they've had, these organizations, these nonprofits, the success, overwhelming success that they've had to mobilize people, which is something certainly that the DNC is still struggling with. People don't want to hear it, and they're not enthused by it, and they're not ready to get behind it, but they're ready to get behind and have proven that they will get behind these organizations. So now that Two of Swords, it's about the messaging. How do we come together with a cohesive message that we can, and the organizational abilities to be able to launch and help assist campaigns across the country in 2026. We have the Nine of Swords. They're stressed because they don't want to, the DNC leadership, they're stressed because they don't want to, again, Spirit is confirming, they don't want to appear that they've abdicated power or they somehow are inept, and that they have been. You're talking about closing out almost a year now of this regime, and the party leadership has yet to articulate a cohesive message that people want to get behind, as they certainly 7 million plus got behind the No Kings protests. It's a struggle for them. But we have the Six of Wands, which is really encouraging, because at the end of the day, what they want, which is the success and to take back the house, for starters, that they have to find a way to work together. Victory and winning is the goal. So Spirit, will we have a more grassroots growing component within the organizational framework of the Democratic Party? Queen of Wands. I just heard Jasmine Crockett. Excuse me, you all. I got a lot of incense going. I just heard Jasmine Crockett. But also, that's on the political on the political spectrum. But also, this is someone within those organizations. Again, I understand that, say for instance, Indivisible is co-founded by both a woman and a man, so that could even be her. And the Two of Wands, yes, moving forward, focused forward, partnering together. So this will happen. So basically, to sum it up, this was not only an incredibly beautiful event, it was not only, as Spirit said, not only did we have major cities and people we knew were going to turn out, but there were protesters. They talked about the MAGA faction or Republican faction turning out. North Dakota, Idaho, West Virginia, West Palm Beach, right? Right in Cankles' backyard. I mean, it's just undeniable. And I think that is also where we're seeing some of this because should, I want to get this the way Spirit is saying it. Many of those who turned out from, especially from those red states, are also going to be invited to be a part of this grassroots movement. And so the messaging of, truly America first in a different way and in a way that feels more inclusive and not about guilt tripping or you see how badly you got it wrong. So you better come on over here with those of us who have some sense. It can't be done that way. That's what Spirit is saying. Now, they're also saying, no, excuse me, you all. And that's so funny because I wasn't hoarse before I started taping. Somebody don't want this message to come across, but that I'm gonna sip my coffee and keep going. I bet you I will. With that said, about these grassroots organizations, it did cost money. There were, we had Bondi and et al. Trying to say these were paid protesters, Mike Johnson, all of these are just paid agitators. And there were many people who showed up with signs that said, I'm not paid, I'm pissed. So there is that part of it, but it will take money to continue to organize and mobilize, right? So what Cankles and company are doing, they've already said, like George Soros. We know George Soros is now on their target list for an indictment. Soros contributes, I think I read somewhere like $1.6 billion in the last year to nonprofits like Indivisible. Contributed, from what I understand, $10 million to the Prop 50 bill for the redistricting in California. $10 million. That's not chump change. So what they're going to do as these grassroots organizations are gaining more influence and power and partnering with the Democrats, they're going to try and go after the money because these are by and large nonprofit organizations that rely on donors, big donors like George Soros and Alex Soros, his son who runs the organization. So they're going to try and go after the money. They're going to try and target these donors and so that these organizations that are gaining momentum will be impacted. Spirit, will the donors stand up? They just reminded me that was also part of Barack Obama's messaging recently. I think it was last week when he gave that talk, and he said he pinpointed corporations standing up, meaning donors as well, right? Not just DEI programs and all of that, but their ability to fund and sponsor organizations, nonprofits, etc. Spirit. We have the Eight of Cups, recognizing that how things have been done in the past, the Democratic leadership in particular, they've got to be prepared to walk away from that, to walk away from how they have typically done business. And as it relates to people turning their back, these donors turning their backs on these nonprofits who will continue to need their money, they're not going to do it. They're going to be hammered to do it by Cankles and company. You better walk away if you know what's good for you. But look at that. There's the Four of Wands, a card of commitment. In this deck and in many readings, you would see it as a card of marriage or a celebration. But it is a card of commitment. They want them to walk away from their commitment to these nonprofits that are gaining and increasing in influence in the political realm. And there's the Seven of Swords. They got to outwit and outsmart them. Because they don't want to feel that the last thing the American people need after turning out and supporting and showing their willingness to be brave and courageous and stand up to authoritarianism and a potential dictatorship. They're saying we don't want to betray the people who have shown us. And the donors, that's specifically who I'm looking at from Spirit. The donors don't want to be seen as betraying their commitment. So there's going to be a concerted effort to legally and provide the stability for Pentacles. They're gonna lawyer up. Well, they already have lawyered up. Soros for sure has already lawyered up, or stays lawyered up, because Cankles has been going after him for years. But there's a financial foundation that they are creating, these donors, these high powered donors that can help organizations like Indivisible, Democracy Now, Democracy Forward, on and on and on, that can help them continue to grow and stabilize and partner with the Democratic Party. All right? They will offer that stability. Am I right, Spirit? Am I getting that right? They will offer that stability. You're going to love it. We got justice. They're going to offer that stability. They just got to be smart about it. Really, really be smart about it. Meaning, if they are subpoenaed, who did you give money to? How did you give it? The nonprofits, because they are nonprofit and nonprofit organizations, in order for them, their tax status, etc., they've got to be extremely careful. That's the justice system eyeing them. Show us your records. They may be, Spirit just said, they may get audited more frequently. These 501c3s, they may get audited more frequently, but they see all of that coming. And we have the Queen of Pentacles. They see that coming. This is managing the money. This is understanding how it's used, and continuing to mobilize and work with big name donors in the name of the greater good, essentially. All right. So this civil movement and the Knight of Swords, the talks that will continue, the understanding, it's plain as day that these organizations that were able to get over 7 million people from all walks of life, all political beliefs, every race, creed, color, persuasion, to come together. This is a vital component of the 2026 movement going forward. And that's what we're going to see happen. And those in the Ken Martins of the world, and the Chuck Schumers of the world, and whomever else, Nancy Pelosi's even of the world, have got to understand and wrap their heads around the fact we don't have enough juice to mobilize the way that people will need to be mobilized to get behind us in 2026. Clearly, these organizations do. So it's time to work together and build those coalitions. And that is how they win. All right? That's one thing. Now, got to look at SNAP and the continuing government shutdown. So Cankles got on Fox, I guess, on Friday, and said, in response to the No King, said, well, they're saying I think I'm a king, I'm not a king. Last night, after the protests, we understand some things came out on Truth Social, some AI doctored videos, whether it was him, Stephen Miller, whoever's running his account these days. But sure enough, he's up there with a crown in some war jet, doing what he does, like in a series of those. So he says one thing out his mouth and out one side of the mouth, and then does the complete opposite out of the other side. We know how that works. But here's the thing. One of the things he said during that interview on Friday was that the Republicans do not want welfare. And so then he has the authority and the power and the mandate to eliminate these programs permanently, because the Republicans do not want them. All right? Republicans, according to I did a little research, and it said that SNAP benefits are the majority of donors, or proportionate majority, 37% of whites are recipients of SNAP benefits, predominantly in red states. And among those, Mike Johnson, the two leading states that have the SNAP recipients, Louisiana and New Mexico. So Mike Johnson is in a world of hurt to continue to stand up here and justify. And that is one reason why they're trying to continue to say, Schumer's shutdown. It cannot happen. It cannot be believed or ingested that way, Spirit is saying, when you have the majority of your people, Republicans, receiving these social benefits that now you've taken away. All right? So, is that going to bring the GOP or enough leaders of the GOP to their knees, to their constituents? We have the Five of Pentacles because, and look at that. I love that key word at the bottom, disruption. This is their food. This is their money. This is their, even the image there with the land and the flowers and the think of that as food. Their people's ability to feed their families being disrupted. These congressional leaders, especially those in the House who've been on basically vacation now for over a month, their constituents, especially in the red states, can't eat, can't feed their families. King of Wands, here comes somebody to begin to really get that message across. That these programs that they have, remembering as well, Spirit is reminding me, remembering that they cut what, 186 billion in SNAP benefits out of that big bill, right? And they said that don't worry, don't panic, because what that means simply is that your states are going to have to make up for some of that difference. So it doesn't mean you're not going to eat. It doesn't mean your benefits are going to go away. It just means that the proportion of the funds coming from the federal government are going to go down. But don't sweat it. Well, now it's gone. And you have states that are already coming out, like I think New York and Illinois, who have already said, we don't have enough in our coffers to make up that difference. And that was always a part of the plan, right? To specifically target blue states and put them in a financial pinch. But what it's doing is these red states as well. Spirit. There's the sun. Thank you. Lives are at stake. Lives in red states are at stake. And I'm not feeling a whole, like en masse are the words that Spirit's giving me. There won't be a whole, big movement in Congress, the Republicans in Congress, to move away from Cankles now on this and say, that's it, we're done with you. But enough to start swaying the numbers. And I'm being told, Spirit is saying, do not disregard or forget about Article 2, Section 4 of the Constitution. Some readers have already talked about this and perhaps seen it happening, where under Article 2, Section 4, if I got it right, everybody can get removed. Not just Cankles, but JD, all of them, the whole swath, Besant, all of them, you're out. High crimes and misdemeanors. But it also takes 2/3 of a Senate. If I'm not mistaken, it takes 2/3 of the Senate to accomplish that. This turn has to come from Congress. How does Congress turn? Queen of Wands, messaging again. I'm going to tell you, Jasmine Crockett, I feel like this is Jasmine Crockett and AOC and perhaps some others beginning to elaborate and articulate, switching that messaging back around. Republicans, you really didn't want, Cankles is saying you all never wanted these social programs, these welfare programs that you benefit from. Was that true? Because you haven't been able, what's happening? How are you making it to the grocery store here recently? And the Three of Pentacles, exactly. There's whoever this is, it's Democratic, perhaps it is Crockett, AOC, others. I just saw Amy Klobuchar, others. I'll just leave it at that. I feel like this energy represents almost a conglomerate of women in Congress. Perhaps even, I'm getting even a little bit, I hate to say it, but here we go. I'm getting even a little bit of MTG in there. But this is going to be a lot of women, especially on this SNAP issue in Congress, moving some of these congressional folks over and saying, we got to work this out. This is also Because remembering as well, Spirit is saying the shutdown aside, the the damage to that 186 bill is going to hurt no matter what. And so repealing parts of that bill is what's coming up. And the Ten of Swords, it is overwhelmingly, the train left the tracks and the train is about to come off the tracks, is what Spirit just said with Cankles and this administration and what their designs were on this bill. And the idea of him articulating and saying point blank, Republicans never wanted this anyway, runs so counter to the truth of the matter and how people are being impacted, that congressional leaders, and there's the Four of Pentacles. How do we, in Congress, how do we rectify this? Because now the train is off the tracks, and people's ability to literally feed their families, even in red states, is what is at stake now. So they've got to cross the line. They've got to be willing to cross the line. They have no choice. We have the Seven of Swords. Triggered is what's at the, because they recognize that the lies, that increasingly, Spirit's been saying this for the greater part of this year, increasingly those who voted for Cankles are going to realize they were lied to. And now those lies have real impact. Above and beyond healthcare, above and beyond, can I go see a doctor, or if I have to get admitted to a hospital? And those are the what ifs or when issues. But feeding your family is a here and now. And so these notices that have gone out as of November, they're not getting their assistance. Watch. These congressional leaders are about to catch it. Okay. The other thing that I'm seeing, though, is you will see assistance coming from other corners besides the government, while the government does what it does. I heard Jose Andres, what is the World Food Kitchen, although primarily we've known him for doing incredible work globally, but he certainly has the organizational capacity and the ability to know how to feed people. It is horrible to think that it's come to that within the United States itself, but I'm getting that just as we saw the coalition of governors, 15 governors and growing perhaps, that have come together around the healthcare issue and how to making vaccines available, etc. Now we got food, literally feeding people at issue. And there will be, through these organizations, some sort of ability to help the food banks, supplement the food banks. We have the Nine of Swords. Yeah, this is people feeling crushed, literally, just feeling crushed. Because this is, how do I eat? How do I feed my kids? And the Queen of Cups, exactly, mothers. How do I feed my children? Like, this is real. Spirit. Will we see organizations like the World Food Kitchen or others like it begin to step forward and assist local food banks? Seven of Pentacles, yeah. They got to figure out how to do it. The Seven of Pentacles is a card of assessment. But you see those busy bees in the background? It's already begun. The calls for help have already begun. And I think this is saying they will mount. And the Four of Wands, commitment. Here comes the Four of Wands again. A commitment to take care of people. This is intolerable. And especially, Spirit is saying, on the heels of this tremendously powerful, loving, joyful energy that we saw in the No Kings protests, that on the heels of that, how do you sit back and do nothing about people needing food? Won't happen. And the Ten of Cups, exactly. Families being taken care of. So to those perhaps even who may see this video who are impacted by these cuts to SNAP, please know that there is going to be a response by the public, by these organizations, that we will see increasingly assistance being given to food banks, perhaps more food banks being created, and other avenues for people to be able to get the food and the nutrition that they need. All right. All right. So that's that. Third thing I wanted to look at today is so we know that an appeals court held back the deployment of the National Guard in Chicago. Cankles and Company escalated it to the Supreme Court. So, and they're doing it on an emergency basis. So now we have the Supreme Court, ready to hand down, or will be handing down soon, a decision about whether whether Cankles is authorized to deploy National Guard troops in Chicago for starters, right? We know that's only for starters. Now, what's interesting also is you had J.D. Vance pull another stunt at Camp Pendleton yesterday in Southern California. But part of what we understand, he told the troops there, they were celebrating the 250th, I guess, anniversary of the Navy. But what he said, of course, utilizing it as a political stunt, was he loves you. Remember, he, meaning Cankles, who was spent the day playing golf, right? He loves you. And he's going to make sure that you get paid. Because part of their ploy here is to find the money somehow, some way, to keep those who they want to use or utilize in their pockets. And so to promise to pay the military, despite everything else that we see happening, is how that's the carrot that he's dangling in front of them. He loves you, Cankles loves you, so you love him back. And as a result, we'll make sure, despite everything else, you get yours. We'll make sure that you get yours. I want to take a look and see, Spirit, will SCOTUS approve the deployment of the National Guard in Chicago? Will SCOTUS overrule the appeals court and approve the deployment of the National Guard in Chicago? Is SCOTUS going to come down once again in Cankles' favor? Are they going to approve that? The star. Yeah. Not surprising, right? Three of Swords, people are going to be pissed off. They're going to approve it. I think so. They may put some conditions on it because the star kind of does feel like something around the people. They may put some language in there and some conditions on it. They may even put a timing element in it to try and further perhaps delay the deployment. But essentially, people are going to come away really disheartened by whatever SCOTUS does. Not surprised, but disheartened. This is his court. And the King of Pentacles, that's Robert's. Roberts may be the one who renders the actual decision on that. And the Two of Swords, we will see, of course, dissents from the other three justices. And there's the Four of Pentacles again. There feels like there's some sort of Roberts may be cagey and put some sort of language in there that doesn't appear as if they have given Cankles wholesale approval to do this, but ultimately they're not going to stand in his way. Once again, they're not going to stand in his way. All right, you all. I hope that was helpful. The government shutdown itself. The last time when I looked last week, the Spirit said November, and I couldn't see when. I couldn't nail it down. I'm going to ask in closing out, are we looking at going into closer to the middle or end of November, or will the government reopen? Will the government reopen before the middle of November? Will the government reopen before the middle of November? We have the Sun. I love it. Couldn't ask for a better card to come out. So yes, I think I'm going to see that as a yes. Barring, we know how these energies shift. And we know that spirit does not override people's free will. But the sun couldn't ask for better. I think, and also spirit is saying because of not just the healthcare issue was one thing, enough, right? You add the actual fact that people cannot go and buy groceries, right? Millions cannot go and buy groceries because of the SNAP situation. Yeah, that's going to light some fires underneath, especially congressional people from the red states. So yes, right now Spirit is saying it looks like we're going to see a break. Nine of Swords. It may not be. Remember, this is about negotiation, supposedly, which they've been refusing to do, the GOP, to come to the table with the Democrats. But there's something here that the King of Swords. It feels like Thune. There's something here where when they reopen, remember that they're only going to give enough to appear that they are trying to do something on behalf of the American people, something right. But ultimately, in the Eight of Swords, look, we got the Eight of Swords and the Nine of Swords. Extremely stressful cards that are basically saying whatever, when the government reopens, the deal that is struck is not going to be sufficient to give people the reassurance, the total reassurance that they need. In other words, Spirit is saying, be specific of that fact. Thank you, Spirit. So those, the federal worker layoffs, which we understand the court said, nah, you got to hold off on that as well. But the instability around it, because that's what this is. This is stress around the instability. So workers being, first we heard furloughed, then layoffs, and then the court said, not so fast. There's something in there where when they come to when the GOP comes to the table and they negotiate, and the government enough to get those votes, to get them over the hump, to reopen the government by the Dems, the votes by the Dems, there's still going to be something in there that does not alleviate the stress that many workers, in particular federal workers, are feeling, and the extent to which Eight of Pentacles, the actual details of what is being reopened, the benefits that people will continue to receive, like healthcare, the extent to which we understand that, for instance, with healthcare, they said, well, sure, we'll work with you and continue to have it, but only for a year. We'll extend those subsidies, but only for a year. That kind of energy is coming in. So the deal, it says, let's hold on to that sun. The government will reopen, they're saying, as of now, towards the first half of November. May even be sooner than that. Could be next week. But the early part of November. But it ain't going to be pretty. And the Democrats are still going to have to push for more, because what they've talked about is repealing some things that were in the big bill. That's where the fight continues. All right. But let's hold on to the sun. Let's take our wins. All right. All right, you all. Take really good care of yourselves. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for hyping. Hype. It really is helping me. I'm trying to grow the channel and continue to do this work for, and offer good content. I appreciate you so very much. Hit that like and subscribe button and that notification bell so you'll know when I post it. And I'll talk to you real soon. You know what's up. Chin up. More than ever. Shoulders back. Wow. We need it yesterday. And continue to breathe. Right? Continue to breathe. Continue to put your prayers out there for those among us who are really struggling. All right? I'll talk to you real soon. I appreciate you.